Did you guys see that the Chinese embassy was reposting state media interviews with Hasan Piker? This is probably, I mean, since I Show Speed, this is the highest profile streamer interaction with China. And I Show Speed, he went to like the Shaolin Temple and he was like included in news reports, but he wasn't like going in there doing state media interviews in suit and tie. They were just reporting on him because he was a social media sensation. I Show Speed, showing everybody the glory and the beauty of China, which that's pretty cool. It is a little different to sit down with state media and like do the whole back and forth. Not necessarily bad. I'm not saying it's inherently bad. I guess it depends on what you're talking about and what the substance of the conversation is. But it is a different vibe, that's for sure. Let's see what was getting reposted by the Chinese American embassy.
I also wanted to show my audience and the Western world in general that there are a lot of rumors about China. There's a lot of misunderstandings and also just outright lies, and that it's just another normal country, just like every other country is.
This is...
You want to know what's funny? I remember when I was 16, 17, I was in my big surprise. Okay, I was in my high school's Model UN. And our assignment was to do a cultural sharing and like learning and the building of bridges across the Atlantic with the Russian Federation. I shit you not. So me and the other people in Model UN had an assignment to basically share culture and interests with Russian students in Russia. And at the end of it, I remember my conclusion being literally the same as Hasan's. Like, you know, we're all the same. We all play bongos and kumbaya, and we're all gonna hold hands and, you know, Bermuda, Jamaica, you know, all that vibes. And I still stand by the fact that those students that I talked to were just like normal kids like the rest of us. But I will say, I do wonder how much the, you know, cultural diplomacy really matters if you just kind of take the geopolitics out of it, box it out, and put it to the side. Because it is true that there's a lot of stereotypes about Chinese people. China is a very beautiful culture. But there's also like things about China that the American public are becoming more attuned to when it comes to, for example, their threat to the island of Taiwan. And the most Americans in American history right now support a defense of Taiwan. Now, I know that Hasan disagrees with that. That's something he can square with the American public. The American public can square with him and the rest of society, whether that's a good idea. But I do wonder whether or not, if we're going to just do like the whole, we're going to China to talk about how beautiful China is, what's the point of even like sitting down with state media? But you know what? Another interview is another interview. Another camera is another camera.
Hasan Piker, an American online streamer, influencer, and a political commentator who wields significant influence over the young demographic in the US. He's known for his daily streams featuring political commentary and media analysis, and has amassed a combined 4.5 million followers on Twitch and YouTube. In his streams, he often discusses China's development with his viewers. Now, he has finally taken his first trip to China.
I know Beijing's your first stop in your whole travel plan in China. It's probably just been 2 days for you to arrive China. How's your experience so far?
It's been amazing. I haven't slept at all, but you know, I'm carrying myself because I'm so excited. It's been a remarkable experience thus far. But I was always very excited to come to China, so this has been a dream come true for me.
What do you want to experience the most, or what do you want to try the most?
The food. I want to see all the big tier 1 cities, but most importantly, I am super stoked that I'm going to get on a high-speed train tomorrow to go to Shanghai, because I also want high-speed rail in America.
Why? Why are you looking forward to visit China?
Well, part of it is because I talk about China quite a bit as far as like lessons to learn and what America could adopt and emulate, and seeing it in real time, I think is a lot different. I also wanted to show my audience and the Western world in general that there are a lot of rumors about China. There's a lot of misunderstandings and also just outright lies, and that it's just another normal country, just like every other country is. I know that, but one, experiencing it for myself is good, and seeing it for myself is good, and then two, showing it to other people as well, I think will be a good opportunity.
Chinese people are normal just like every other people. I don't know if China's a normal country like every other country. Just in the same idea that if you are a gigantic country with gigantic military power, like Russia, China, and the United States are not normal countries in the idea that like they're normal countries in the idea that they're full of normal people and the people want, you know, to be happy and be left alone largely. But when it comes to like what their countries do and the power that they have, you know, not normal in that sense. But if he's just talking about like a cultural envoy, then yeah, I guess that's not the worst message in the world to communicate. Still, just very strange to see streamers talking in this context. But again, none of this is necessarily objectionable in and of itself. If Hasan Piker can keep the general vibe that he has, like, look, I'm here to see what's good about this society, but that doesn't mean I'm going to blindly adopt everything or blindly praise everything or blindly come in here and not even say that there isn't anything that should change, whether it comes to the, you know, the debt system in China, or whether it comes to, you know, its healthcare infrastructure, or whether it has to do with the amount of repression of the state media. I mean, repression of the press, repression of, you know, union organizing, independent union organizing, repression of X, Y, Z. You can go into any of these issues, but you just would want a streamer to keep that vibe. And one thing that I saw, and I have to bring just a tiny bit of attention to it, because I do want more political streamers traveling the world. I do want more political streamers getting out of their room and learning about politics in ways that's outside of their computer screen. That'd be cool. I want that. But the way that Hasan has reacted, it seems like he's nervous. It seems like he's nervous to be frank. And I want frankness. That's what I want when you're traveling. Because if you go to places and you're scared to just say what you think, then people, like, why are they watching you? They might as, like, people are leaving mainstream media outlets because they don't think that they're honest. They don't think that it's straight, they're being straight up with you. They don't think that they're particularly authentic, I guess is the word that I would keep coming back to. And that you are there on the ground, unfiltered, telling them what it's like there, right? You're there to get stuff to emulate. So you should also see things and be like, you know what? I like it how we do it better. For example, freedom of expression, or when it would come to the rights of LGBTQ plus people in the United States, which, even though on a state by state level there are problems, on a general basis would be ahead of most places in the world generally. Now, Hasan here is asked about the fact that China has removed two of China's most popular dating apps, where I remember when they freezed enrollment on one of these dating apps, people were like going onto the market to buy like $20 accounts so they could have an actionable account because you couldn't register anymore. And people were trying to, and because millions upon millions of LGBT people use it in order to meet people and get with people. But at the same period, we don't only have this crackdown on the dating apps, we also have crackdowns on LGBT rights groups in China generally, as well as LGBT art creation. Well, a lot of it seemed to be yaoi artists. So that isn't really, I would say that's more for women. Okay, that's less than it is for say gay men, but still, you know, it is still a type of art. You know, it is still something that gay people have touched in the past. So the suppression of all of this would be of concern, that, you know, this type of love being shared is of any interest of the state, that they have to regulate it is of concern. And so Hasan is asked not about the censorship of the art, not about the shutting down of these rights organizations, but he's asked specifically about the dating apps. Mind you, one of these dating apps actually had an HIV like detection service that the government itself had even at one point like complimented for the good help that they were doing. Hasan responds to this by saying China is gay as hell.
Why China blocked gay dating apps? I don't think that's true. I think you saw that on Twitter. I don't know if that's true. Chatter.
Why would he say I don't think that? Okay, whatever. I mean, he's trying to figure it out, and in real time. Why would he default to I don't think that's true? I mean, it does sound silly, the idea that China would ban the dating app. I want to microanalyze here.
I think you saw that on Twitter. I don't know if that's true. Chatter, this is exactly what I mean. If you get your notes from Twitter, which by the way, like you'll see, we're about to go to Chengdu. What's really funny about this is like China's gay as hell. Like, just watch the stream and you will see. Like Austin.
I like that the person on screen, you can see this is the person he brought up. Why China blocked gay dating apps? I don't think that's true. I think you just saw that on Twitter. And then you can see they post because they still got the chat box up. Google News as his source. Just Google the concept of Googling it is his source. Just Google gay dating app China and it will come up. That's a good source. Google it.
Austin's been on the apps. That's so funny. There is like, I mean, it's true. Apple removes Chinese gay dating apps on government order. Okay, but that's Apple. Blued and Finca, two of China's most popular gay dating apps, suddenly disappeared from Apple's Chinese app store, fanning fears among LGBTQ people. Dude, that's Apple.
Why is he defaulting? Look, he doesn't know anything about it. This is clearly an instance where Hasan probably wouldn't have said that isn't true if he knew it was true and he was just lying to cover it up. He didn't know, assumed the best about the Chinese government, shouldn't have assumed the best about the Chinese government. And then somebody shows him, hey, look, it's true. Here's a link. There it is. It's not twitter.com. That's NBC News. Okay. And then what's his new framework? Well, that's Apple. That isn't the government. Oh, so Apple just decided, like one day they woke up, they said, you know what we'd like to do? We'd like to make less money. We'd like to service less providers and have less people using our apps in our app store. We would like to make it so that the tens of millions of people that use this, which is the size of some small nations that we fight to get inside in order to sell our products and, you know, have access to that market. We would just like to stop doing that. Why? Because we're selectively homophobic in China. We're not homophobic in the United States. You can still get Grindr in the United States. You can still do LGBTQ options on Hinge or whatever other apps. You can still do it in Canada. You can still do it in the United Kingdom. You can still do it in the rest of Europe. But China, we don't like Chinese twinks. We're fine with Indian twinks. We're fine with German twinks. We're fine with American twinks. But Chinese twinks is just a step too far for Apple. No. The reason why Apple removed these two dating apps was because they were told by government regulators to do so. This is in part of a pattern. This is not something that's come out of the blue. This is not even particularly a new news story. That the Chinese government has gone after both queer artists, queer rights organizations, and queer dating apps. The government believes that these types of behaviors are in a way antisocial, and that the display of that type of either a certain type of femininity in men is not good for the state. And some of their political elite, which can be quite chauvinist, seem to believe that part of the birth issue in China when it comes to the demographics is this new age of, well, how do you put it? Gay kids. Now, one might talk about the one-child policy, China's current economic problems that could be, hurting poor and middle class, what we would consider middle class and working class people in the United States. What would be their equivalent to that? But that is something that is believed by part of their political elites. I don't understand why the default has to be, oh, well, I don't think that's true. Oh, it is true. Well, it's Apple. It isn't the government. I don't know why it's just the default to assuming it's not the bad option. Like, it'd be one thing if it was like, oh, I don't know. But it's not just a default to I don't know. It was a default to I don't think that's true. That's something that came off of Twitter. But that's like, you know, he's trying to give China the benefit of the doubt. That's good when it comes to not demonizing a culture, but it also is not necessarily the best when it comes to catching all of the aperture of the social complexities and depth of even a society's problems. Trying to put it politely.
And fears among LGBTQ people, dude. That's Apple. Wait, this happened yesterday? Okay, I'm gonna go ask.
I will say it happening while he's in China is coincidental.
I'm gonna go ask people if it's like still available on Huawei. Because guess what? Not everything you read in news media is as it seems, is all I'm saying when it comes to stuff like this.
Dude, for months, people had to pay in order to get accounts because they stopped the registration. For months. Why is he doing this? Why? What's the purpose? What? There's no, like, you could just say, like, yeah, man, China's socially conservative. You're socially conservative and they don't have the same beliefs when it comes to, you know, freedom of association or, you know, the fact that you can just have these types of, like, they don't. Like, you could just say these things. It's not like China is China's particularly the worst on LGBT people. That isn't the case. There's countries in the world right now negotiating, like, should they be killed? Should they not be killed? In China, it's not reached that point. It's not that bad. In the 90s, it used to not even be illegal to be a homosexual in China. Now you can be without being arrested. You just got to be kind of quiet about it. You can't be particularly too loud and try to present it in too positive of a manner. Or, you know, have certain types of, you know, it's regulated queerness, regulated homosexuality. Okay, they've got the cap on it. At least that's how they view it. Unless you're in Chengdu, then it's gay as hell. And of course, there's like areas of the country that's gonna have like, this is where queer people hang out, this is where they don't hang out. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still structural disadvantages that the state has engineered. That they think that they still can believe that, you know, being homosexual is socially undesirable, so they treat it as such. Most of the world, sadly, is of that belief.
Especially considering that even the likes of Newsweek, for example, those apps are super fucking popular. For the record, those apps are super popular. For the record, just so you know.
It should not be awkward when something like this comes up. Like, if I'm live and there's a corruption scandal in Ukraine, it should not be like, yeah, but we don't know, like, for sure if the officials are involved, and like nobody's been found guilty yet. And like, do we know it's that Ukraine? Could it not be like a town called Ukraine and Timbuktu? Or like, could it not be? It should, because my job, it is not like my job to like defend the Ukrainian government. That's not my job. It's not my responsibility. And like, the way we should talk about it should be casually. It should be natural. It's a little weird that it feels uncomfortable as like the revelation continued from this is probably not true to, oh, maybe it is true, I don't know, to, oh, it's true, but it's Apple's fault, which is a weird pivot from there to wherever we're going to end up next.
And I assume, I mean, I might be wrong on, I might be totally wrong on this, but I assume they might have done it for like data related reasons, like privacy related reasons. As far as like, it's kind of like Grindr. I think Grindr was about to be sold Grindr was about to be sold to a Chinese company, and then they refused to. Yeah, see, Top G is correct. We tried to buy Grindr and expand it to China, but your Congress blocked the sale because they feared of being outed. Literally, Grindr was supposed to be sold to a Chinese company, I'm pretty sure, and the American government literally blocked that deal from happening because they were like, no, too many of our dudes are sucking penises on there. Too many dudes in Congress are sucking penises on there. We can't let like the Chinese get backdoor access into this. This is a real thing that took place. And I assume that this is basically the reverse version.
Why is it all defense? It's all defense. Like he's like, I assume, okay, so we start at, it's probably not true. Then it becomes, I don't know. I have no idea if it's true. Then it becomes, oh snap, it's true. Okay, well, if it is true, Apple did it. Oh, well, now we're moving on from Apple did it to it was the government, but if the government did do it, they did it for good reasons. Like, for example, when we stopped Grindr from being sold to a Chinese company because we didn't want them to use possible leverage of being able to access whether or not certain Congress people are gay as leverage against them in Congress, as if we could have a modern velvet lavender crisis. For anybody who might know about Cold War era homophobia. Number one, these two things are not related. I mean, unless you can prove that this is data related, we don't know that they're related. We're just assuming that they're related, that the reason that they shut down these two apps were for data related reasons, even though in the past they stopped registration up to this point. This seems to be something that we're leading into, and this has not been stated by the Chinese government. And what sale to what American company is being discussed? We're talking about this Grindr. We're talking about sold to a Chinese company. We're talking about these two companies. Were they being sold to an American company? Why are we now assuming this? Why are we making this assumption? How does he go from it's probably not true? Maybe I don't know. Okay, it's true. Okay, it's true. But Apple. Okay, it's true, and it was the government. But I assume. Like at each stage, we find out how little he knows and he's making assumptions on it. Why make assumptions on it? Why is this look, he's in China traveling around. He could just say, I don't know. I've been traveling. Nobody's coming up to me asking me why they can't log into their gay app. Okay. It's not their business, not my business. I'll find out. We can talk about it later. What would stop him from saying that? Why does it have to be, well, I assume that China is shutting down all these gay apps for totally legitimate security and intelligence related reasons, that their gay apps are going to be sold to America and an American company, and then the American CIA is going to take these Chinese gays and we're going to leverage against the Chinese gays information about how many penis they're popping, and then once we have the penis popping data, we're going to leverage it against the Chinese government. Like the assumptions that have to be made to talk about the equivalence of that Grindr sale in data, he openly admits he does not have. I just don't know why. Look, the man, like 80% of Hasan's problems come from his just inability to just be like, yeah, no, I don't know right now. I can go look at it later. That he's a 24-hour streamer. He's streaming all the time. He has to stream 12, 16 hours a day. And when you're talking 12, 16 hours a day, it's really easy to slip up and say something stupid. And you don't want to look ignorant in front of a crowd and that you're saying something and then somebody contradicts it in chat and you don't have anything on the fly. So you just start grabbing. So you go from that's probably not true all the way to, okay, so it's true, but, right? In such a short period of like 2 minutes. Either way, I think all we need to do, okay, is this: if you're confronted with a story as a streamer that you don't know anything about, all you need to do is be like, I haven't heard that. I'll read that off stream. Those are the two magic sentences. Now I understand that Due to the parasocial nature of streaming and due to our 24-hour news cycle, it might be more valuable to scroll on Twitter a bit until see if you can maybe find an answer. Wait for somebody else in chat to answer for you so you can grab their work and claim it as your own, or to just see what you can make happen. Just move your mouth and just see what words come out. I don't think that any of these are laudable. So again, much more valuable to just say, I don't know, we'll talk about it another time.